I don't have my normal spiel about agenda. Stand by 1 second. I need to read my spiel for legal purposes. I actually, you know what? I can entertain a motion to open and then I can do my spiel.
Motion open.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous, great. Yeah, they don't have the WRPS spiel on this. Old agenda.
Does this look like it's gonna be a long one?
We try to get through it pretty quick.
All right.
We can.
Someone looking for garlic bread, Derek, or you gotta
All right.
for the kitchen, or
Welcome to the Community Preservation Act Committee for the Town of Rockland, Thursday, February 23rd. Opened at 6:40 p.m. Please be advised that this open meeting may be broadcast live and will be recorded by WRPS for playback at www.wrpsrockland.com/TV and www.youtube.com/WRPS-Rockland. Meeting is open. Let me share my screen again. And we can dive in. We'll try to move this along as quick as we can. All right. Agenda item number 1, Carey Street update. Joe, do you want to take this? Or you want to run through it?
I'd like to try, at the last meeting, new developments occurred. Gary Street proposal was denied by the owner, but he's come up with a secondary proposal, which Doug had talked to him about. He is now breaking up the parcel once again. If you look at the drawing, where the outline of the yellow was the original parcel that he was going to sell to us. Now he's pulling that off the table, and where you see the red line and the red lines, he's adding that to 2 lots there, and will sell us the rest of it that's outlined. So we're losing like a third of it, I believe it is, half an acre, a little over half an acre.
Yeah, about that.
So right now, Doug is gonna have it reappraised at that, and we're going from there to see if we can pull it off once again. I think this would probably be the last opportunity. If you look where the red line is, he's got a roadway there. I believe it's gonna be 40 feet. So right now, we have to find out from zoning what the roadway width has to be. So right now, we're waiting from zoning. Maybe Charlie, you wouldn't know that answer. A 40-foot driveway coming into the parcel and the two pieces that we already own. So that's kind of where we're at right now, guys. We're on hold. The owner will hold this now for a year, so we don't have to try to get this filed this town meeting. So we'll be pushing this out to 2024, I believe. Any questions?
do you still like the parcel, even with that big rectangle gone? For your
Yes.
purposes?
Yes, it makes us have access off of Lower Reed and Carey instead of Plain Street or North Ave, where it's a longer distance for the kids at the schools to get to these parcels on well-traveled streets. I think this is still doable. Yes, that piece of parcel is, something that we could have used, but we can still live with this piece. It's still determined how we're gonna break this up and use it. But my thinking, it stays with the campus idea. The kids come off of Duffy Drive, come over to Bicentennial, Lower Reed, up Cary to get in on this property. It's a safer route than if they had to go all the way up Cary Street, down North Ave to get into the land, or down Lower Reed to Plain Street to come in off of Plain Street.
All right, so I just double checked so it's hard to see in this. He needs 110 foot of frontage for that lot. Does he have that there?
No, the part of the agreement, should I get into this, Steve?
Say that again?
Should I get into about the legal size of the lot that he wants?
Well, that's for the landowner to figure out, right? He's got to go through zoning. I think he knows that. I think Doug advised him that he would need to seek a variance, but I don't think that's for us to worry about. I mean, it would be for
So-
us to worry about if he doesn't get a variance and then has to do something else with this property, and then it comes off the table. But we're kind of at the behest of what the landowner wants to do with the property.
So Joe, you're saying it's 40 feet now to get in off of Cary Street?
Yes. Between the yellow line and the red line, that would be the entrance coming in. And I believe that's 40 feet.
40 feet wide.
Correct.
That dramatically changes the scope of the project, in my opinion.
He needs some type of relief with this proposal, what I understand. And Doug is somewhat asking zoning for the meeting to be set up so it can be heard anyways.
Okay,
That makes sense?
makes sense to me.
I think for our purposes, it's, what are the regulations for access for public land? If we were to look to do like a parking lot or something with that access, or I assume a walking path in from there would not be an issue. If we would look to do a parking lot off of, say, Plain Street. I don't know if we have bylaws regarding walking paths for entrance to town property.
Doug was supposed to check with Dave Taylor on this too.
I mean, there's a lot more to come on this, I think, with, what we can and can't do, what makes it viable. And so having the extra year is going to help us out to figure that out.
Because if you look farther up on the lot one, you see there's a house already there, an existing house. He owns the property on the, if you're looking at the house from the street, it'd be on the right-hand side of the house. That's where all the ledge is. If we end up having a parking lot off of Plain Street, that could be also, if we could work a deal with them, maybe give us that parcel for walking in, but it's all
Yeah.
ledge.
We do have an actionable item though, for this. If there's no more discussion on that, I think there's a lot that needs to be discovered still with the changes. But the immediate ask is for additional funding for a second appraisal. Because obviously the land size has changed. We need a new number to be able to come up with a new offer. So we approved $5,000, up to $5,000 on our 1027 meeting. We spent $3,000 for the appraisal. Assuming it's not going to go up. Doug's asking for us to approve $3,000. So I think all we would need to do is approve an additional 1,000 for the appraisal. Someone want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Thousand. 3,000. For second appraisal. Was that Tom with the first, Charlie with the second?
Yep.
All right, roll call. Joe,
I will abstain where I'm the person to file the application.
okay. Derek,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Tom,
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes,
And Steve, I did drop off that bill to be paid at town hall on Tuesday evening.
I appreciate that.
That should be.
Oh,
in
yeah, the
process.
invoice for the first one. Yep, thank you. Unanimous. Joe abstained. Great. All right, on to, any other discussion on Cary Street?
I'll be curious to see what the new appraisal is.
Yeah, did we want to talk about, what, Tom, what you had found out? We never got a chance to kind of dig into what you had found out about the property. Not the property, sorry, the contiguous properties, the Reed, Major Reed property and others.
Oh, you mean historically?
Yeah,
Oh, just like, I mean, Joe's probably very well versed in the whole thing about how the use has always been a source of discussion. They wanted to do a hockey rink back in the 70s, and it was almost going to happen, and then they got the rug pulled out from under them, and it's kind of been just sitting like that since what, the early 80s, and nothing's been done with it. I don't know what you have to do to determine the use of it. You know, if you wanted to try to do a hockey rink again or something like that, and why that restricts us from what we can do with it.
so there was a town meeting vote, I think, for that, because I saw that on the deed.
Yeah,
That's not the Major Reed property, that's the recreational property that's
Right.
contiguous. I think we would just need to do a town meeting vote to rescind using that property for a hockey rink.
Oh.
That should all,
Cool.
because that's all that was there for the town meeting vote to allow that to happen. So I think to rescind that is enough for us to then come up with a use plan for essentially all three parcels. Go ahead, Joe.
According to what Tom gave me on the background on this, in the 70s, like he said, they were trying to put a rink in there, and we inquired the other parcel of land in the back for parking and et cetera, so they had enough land. This went all the way to the Massachusetts Supreme Court and kicked back. The land was turned back to town of Rockland. The town of Rockland deeded this over to the state for $1. And judge, I'm not quite quoting them, but roughly, it has to be used as the wishes of Major Reed's family. And Major Reed's family wants it as a park. What is the definition of park 100 years later would have to be determined. But back then, they had benches, fire pits, and walking trails, stuff like that in parcel land. I grew up in this area. I never saw any of this back in the, the 60s and the 70s. I knew about the rink situation that occurred, but I know it never happened. But the Supreme Court, in its ruling, turned it back over to the town, and if you don't use that property to the extent that it was donated by, technically, the land goes back to anybody that's a relative of Major. What I understand.
Joe, wasn't it, I'm going back in the way back machine. Wasn't it at one point too, they wanted to put a town pool there?
A lot of ideas went.
Yeah, I
They
thought
wanted
that, I
to put
remember.
town pool, they wanted to put a type of, I don't know, there was several things that they wanted to do, but they couldn't do it because this was needed to town of Rockland Park Department for a park. So what his definition of a park is, that would have to be determined 100 years later, what parks are now. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Does it exclude any kind of structures?
Yes. No tar. It has to be natural. Natural site, according to what I understand. You know, they don't want a parking lot, so if you put a parking lot in there, it would have to be gravel, I believe, my opinion.
Yeah, that's why I think the Plain Street entrance makes more sense, because that's not part of the Major Reed Park.
And that still has to be determined what we could use it for, you know?
Yeah.
Can you put buildings on it? I don't know, like a pavilion for cookouts or birthday parties, stuff like that. Or just a place to walk around, sit. Can you use it as a dog park? I don't know. Walking your dog through there.
Mhm.
I have no idea. I imagine you couldn't put up what they do in dog parks now, you know, all those little exercise things. So it would just be like walking, I believe. We would have to get town council to help us out on when we get to that point and give us a clearer opinion on how we can use it.
Okay.
But it's deeded to town of Rockland, control of Rockland Parks.
You think Doug could give us some kind of input?
I think we're probably more educated on this parcel of land, us guys, than Doug would be until town council dug into it, I believe.
No, I meant maybe he knows something about usage law and, you know,
No,
areas
It's
like
a very
that.
niche case, Tom. It's because of
Yeah,
the
it just
deed.
seemed it.
Yeah, because it's not conservation land. I think it was written as conservation, like a Google Map says it's conservation land, but nowhere in the deed does it mention conservation restrictions.
So are there any ancestors that are around today that would say, well, no, that's not what my great grandfather wanted? Or is this just us looking at the original deed and trying to translate it into modern times?
the deed was written by his son. Major Reed was passed away, I believe, at that time.
Mhm.
And his son was the one that donated it in his father's name. And the stipulation was that this park was named after Major Reed.
Mhm.
Right.
The only stipulation besides the park, used as a park, that it be named, in his name. So it's two restrictions that I'm aware of.
Might be worth it if we do, you know, if this moves forward, and even if it doesn't, I think those two parcels of land that we own already makes sense to do like a use plan. And whoever we get to do that use plan, we probably have ways to kind of help determine that.
This is gonna
And-
be a long road. This
Yeah.
is more about getting this land in the land bank for further use. And it's not gonna happen next year or the year after. It's gonna be a little while until we determine the needs of the property and what we can actually put on the
Mhm.
property. How big a softball field is, how big pickleball courts. I'm just throwing those two things out because those are some of the things that were presented in a survey at Hartson Park that people really want it in town. So Steve, you could probably answer that better because you had the copy of that survey.
Yeah.
What people were looking for in town.
Yeah, and I could probably dig that up. But and I sat in on those meetings too, for the Hudson Park use plan when they work with the consultant. And I think they'd be well versed to be able to dig into that a bit more and help be able to define what's a park, what you can use certain land for. And so that may help guide us. So I think,
Picking up.
I don't think it's unrealistic that we couldn't start on a use plan in the next 2 years. I think the first thing is we need to determine whether or not we're gonna move forward with the Carey Street property. And whether or not that's a yea or nay. I mean, that's a year, right? A year from now, we'll be making the decision, is that going on town warrant? And then town votes yes or no. And if they vote yes, then July we own it, right? Of 24. And then we can start looking at getting an application drawn up for a use plan for
Asked
the
everybody.
the 2 or 3 properties, depending on what we own.
Steve,
I thi-
can't hear you.
You breaking up? Oh, God. Can you hear me, Tom?
I can hear you fine.
Oh. Oh, we lost. Are we losing Joe? Give him a minute.
I would hope that the spirit of the deed would be, something like nonprofit public use.
Yeah, I think it's, as long as it's used for a park, it's named after him. It really, I think from what I remember, and I haven't read it in a while, it was a Remembrance Park for Major Reed.
Hello?
Hey, you hear us, Joe?
Hey, Joe.
Let me text Joe to call him.
Are you guys there?
Yep,
I can hear you, Joe.
we can hear you.
I don't know what happened.
Can you hear us? You're muted. His internet, Charlie's internet was contagious.
Yeah, I don't know. That was weird.
That's yucky weather out there. All right, I'm gonna suggest we move on to Spring Lake. This will be a quick one. There was another appraisal done on Spring Lake because now I think you guys know this, the town wants to take it by eminent domain. Because it's, the paperwork for the trust is not in order. And the only way forward is if we want that land abutting Spring Lake, Reed's Pond, would be to take it by eminent domain. And it sounds like the trust owner is okay with that.
So we just gotta know how much.
So
Reasonable.
it's actually, Doug already went ahead and got it done. He's asked if we would pay it out of CPA administrative funds. I have no problem with that, but need to put it before you guys to see if you're okay with that. It's $2,000 to pay that invoice.
Motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Payments. 2,000. Spring Lake appraisal. So that was Tom as the first, Charlie as the second.
Yes.
All right, I'm just gonna go down the list here. Tom,
Aye.
Charlie,
Yes, I.
Derek,
Yes.
Joe,
Am I back on?
you are.
You are.
I got knocked off for about 5 minutes.
Sorry about that.
Yes, I'm in favor.
All right, and myself, that's unanimous. Great. Next one, administrative assistant job review. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to review John's proposed changes. I do have it.
I looked at it.
He made some language changes here, just clarifying. Most of these are just clarifying or more limiting the role. Will this role do this? Perform research functions and CPA projects, for example, land housing projects. We may need to obtain assessors information and research deeds, conservation restrictions. I think that makes sense. You know, upon our direction.
He was
Um,
questioning about the handle all payments to the town treasurer when that's what
Oh, where is that?
The second one. I mean, I handle the payments from the town treasurer. I've never actually received a payment to give to the town treasurer, so that maybe that's what they're talking about. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think that's appropriate for this role. Unless, Tom, you have an issue and you want to hand that off, but
No, I'll keep it. I haven't done it yet.
we could always expand it if we needed to in the future.
Sure.
So, you know, just do strike through here. Actually, if I'm on markup. No, I'm not on markup. Up, chart changes. Yeah, so I think his ask, will the role handle this? Right? Oh, update the CPC webpage. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if we update our forms and stuff, that makes sense. And handle all payments. Let's do this reply. No. All right, should this be removed? Review projects in the field for compliance with approved scope of a project? I don't think so.
That's more than our meetings, right?
Yeah, our meetings, we review as things are coming to completion. Are we happy with them before we issue payment? So I think we can remove this. And unless I hear, you know, rebuttal, I'm just gonna blow through this because I wanna get people out of here. The rest of this is pretty boilerplate. Do we need to remove phone with a CPC laptop or town? Work is typically performed at home with the use of a town laptop, phone, and email address. So I guess this is kind of a tricky situation though, isn't it? Because we're not hired staff, we're volunteers.
Mhm.
This would be hired staff. Should we provide them with the equipment in which to access? I don't know that they need a phone. You can do all of that with a computer. The town can provision an email address. I think, and we could buy them a laptop with administrative funds. I think that's fine. You know, $1,000 out of our administrative funds for a laptop is not.
And I believe, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the town phone system can handle a CPC voicemail that will automatically transfer to an email.
Oh, okay.
So that, I mean, but I don't think they need to have a phone, no. We can have an extension be added to the town's phone system so that it would go to the CPC voicemail, which would in turn go to an email address.
Like that. So laptop, yes, phone, no, but maybe a phone number that has voice message Voice messages sent to their town email address. Good with that?
Sure.
And I think that, I mean, if we got to a point where whoever took this position was making a lot of personal phone calls for us, which I don't see happening, but if they were, I think we could
Right.
revisit it.
Right. I mean, really, what we've been doing is we direct them to say, we'll put you on the agenda at our next meeting at such and such a date. Please be present at that meeting. And I mean, they would have the capacity to be able to offer standard guidance based on the legal parameters set for a CPC. We do that today. If someone comes up to us in the street and says, hey, I'm thinking about this project, what do I need to do? Well, you need to fill out the pre-app. It needs to be due by October 31st. If the committee is in favor, then we need a full application that's due by December 31st of that year, that kind of thing. Or these, needs to fall into housing, recreation, open space, conservation, that, historic. I think that's fine, but I don't know that there would need to be phone calls made. And if there is, we could always reevaluate. But a lot of phone systems now have, and I don't know if Rockland's has this availability. We could talk to Gino, but have the availability for a soft phone. So essentially you make the phone calls right through the computer.
I mean, yeah, well, check with Gino. I mean, I know that when we switched to this new phone system that we do have a lot of those phone over IP capability.
Mhm. Okay. I'll say, yeah, revisit phone need.
So as far as the wage goes for this person, is this a person on town payroll? Do they get paid by 1099 or? I assume it's an hourly wage, right?
That's something we need to have HR come in on. So this is our first task. Once we return this to HR, so we'll work with John to clean this up, get it official. We'll then turn it back to Joe because Joe's our liaison with HR.
Mhm.
Joe, I assume you're okay continuing with that?
Yes.
Bring that back to HR, and that HR is willing to come to one of our meetings and talk about next steps. And I think that's appropriate for that conversation to talk about, yeah, are they per diem? Are they W-2? Are they 1099 contractor? They'll need to comply with the town of Rockland. So they're a town of Rockland employee at that point. And then we would need to, and then we could talk about wage. We might have to have an executive session to talk about wages.
Steve,
when we
can
do
I,
the- Yeah, go ahead.
it's all based off of union contract wages and stuff like that.
Okay.
And the person would probably be an employee of the town per se at some other level in town.
Yeah.
I think zoning has a secretary now, I believe. Charlie, you can answer that.
No, they do, but they're very protective of their secretary. They don't want them doing other things
No,
based on
but
last town meeting.
Yeah,
someone like that
Yeah.
could jump in and do two jobs if they want, but that's not my pay grade.
yeah, so planning has a secretary as well. But again, I mean, it would have to be somebody that is interested. I'm not sure.
But I think that's what we do. We clean this up.
It will-
Have John clean it up, get it over to Joe. Joe can then get it to HR and then we can plan a
He
meeting
offered
with HR.
to employees first and kind of. I don't know about you guys. You guys keep breaking up on me. It's very
I
tough.
think it's you, Joe. It's you.
What am I doing wrong?
You could try turning your video off. That might help.
How about
Yeah,
if
you-
I
you're
have
usually
it,
pretty good.
I have it off now.
Yeah, and sometimes that helps with video conferencing because you're using less data.
Okay, yeah, you sound better now instead of every other word.
That's what I do in
Thank-
my day job. IT support. All right. So added revisions. Will send back to John. for Final version. Um. Joe will then bring to HR and ask for HR rep to attend our next meeting. All right, any more discussion on that?
Nope.
Back to the agenda. Warrant article review. So the only article we have is our appropriations. I've asked our town accountant as well as the assessor's office to give us a estimate for receipts for fiscal year 24. I've not heard back yet. And Derek, I want to see, is that what you've done in the past when you were chair? Is ask the assessors and accountant's office for that?
Just lost you for a second. I kind of sounded like the Charlie Brown teacher.
Oh, okay. The when you did the appropriations articles when you were chair, where did you get
Yes.
the estimated figure from?
Town accountant.
Town accountant? Okay. So I'll have
Yep,
to keep
that-
pressing on that.
Yeah,
haven't-
that was it Elizabeth?
Yeah, Biz.
Biz,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's gone. We have a new town accountant.
yeah,
They've had a lot of turnover in that department. I understand. So I may have to call Doug to push him.
yeah. Between them and the treasurer, I used to get all the financial reports.
Yeah.
What was coming in, what was going out.
So what I have here is, which one is it? What we did last year. It's going to be very similar. So I'll essentially take the language of this, update the year and the figures. But we will have to meet briefly just to stamp it.
Yep.
So as soon as I get that, we'll spin something up and maybe it'll just be a meeting to just stamp this. So we're not wasting people's time. It'll be like a 5-minute meeting.
All
So,
right.
so I was hoping to have this ready for today. I've been asking for it. I just don't have the numbers to be able to write it.
Not a problem.
But thank you. I wanted to make sure I was on the right path with that. So for article waiting for FY24 estimates. Good. And then any project updates folks want to share?
I have project updates if you guys are interested.
I am.
Okay, so project number one is the traffic lights or the crossing lights on the rail trail. The first phase of that project is complete. They're up and running. They work amazing. I've been on Plain Street multiple times when people have come up to the bollards. They trip the lights and the lights go. So those two are done. So Plain Street, was it Plain and Liberty? No,
Liberty,
Plain Street, yeah, Plain, Liberty, and Union Square. So those have all been taken care of. The last time I talked to Dave Taylor, he was putting together any pull permits to finish the other sets of lights. He still was working out some logistics on how Howard Street and Vernon were gonna work. But it looks great. So that first half of that project is done, up and running, and like I said, they look awesome. Second update is King Philip. So the chief and myself had a meeting with potential bidders. They came out, one from Pennsylvania and one from Maine, to come out and look at it. They were super, super impressed with it. And I've heard back from them, and they believe that they are going to be able to complete the project and be right around our budget. So that's super news. I was extremely worried about that. And the thing is that they were just super impressed with the condition that it's in. And they said we're basically saving this in the nick of time. Like we've all said before, there are not many of these left around. This is going to be a huge piece of history, for us, and we're well on our way. The timeline is pretty long. These things take anywhere for a full restoration. These things take anywhere from 18 to 24 months. He's thinking that it will probably, he would like to get it to his shop if he's a successful bidder sometime later this year. And then it would be 18 to 24 months before it's completed and ready to come back. So really good news on that. I thought that project was gonna, be kind of dead for a bit, and it has been kind of dead for a bit, but the update is positive. So I'm excited about that. It's a good one for the town. It's really saving that piece of history is huge.
I commend your perseverance on
Good.
this, Charlie.
Oh, I know there were many days I was
The
like,
long
I'm out,
haul.
I'm tapping out, but yeah, so I will keep you updated. I'm gonna reach out to Doug. It'll have to go out to bid again, I believe. And but I'm not sure. So, Doug's a procurement officer, so he'll know better than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the update on that.
Charlie, I have a question. Is there any way we get this video somehow of the project for for the website and stuff
Yeah.
like that?
So when he was here, when they were both here, they're huge history guys. And like I said, they were very impressed with a lot of the Rockland history, including the Alms House and the Tramp House. And they were super blown away by what we're doing to preserve a lot of the community stuff. So there is a Facebook page for King Philip right now, the restoration. So
Oh.
as soon as we get some, some stuff that we can put out there, we're definitely going to put out there. I mean, there'll be the next step will be the move from, it going from where it's stored now to where it's going to be restored. So yeah, there will be a lot of press on it. At least I'm hoping there'll be a lot of press on it, and I'll be doing a lot of press on it if I can.
That's great.
Yeah. That's all I have. Thank
Okay.
you.
Good updates. I think that's most of our major ones. I know what do we call it? It's the Butterfly Park, I think, but we keep referring to it as like the Dunkin' Donuts Park, and Dunkin' Donuts is now closed permanently.
The liquor store park.
The liquor, yeah.
Hmm.
Station Liquors Park.
Brought to you by Fireball Nip Bottles.
Yeah, I know, it's sad. We get the banner is closing, and the Dunkin's closing, or closed. Two long-standing businesses. Sad. Hopefully we get something good in there.
Yeah.
But Hotel Thomasby, is that historical, Tom? That
Yes.
building?
Yes, it is. I think it's on the registry.
We've
Double
had a
check Jim Paul.
I believe,
Interesting.
I believe a president stayed there.
That sounds familiar too.
That is correct. President Coolidge stayed there.
Calvin Coolidge.
It's too bad but the property when it went up for sale was just kind of astronomical for the amount of work that it needed.
Did it go up for
I-
sale recently or back?
It was
Way back.
listed probably about a year and a half ago.
Hmm,
So it's my, go ahead, Derek.
It was a very high listing price. And from there, I don't know what happened because I know it was removed from listing. but
And definitely bought at the peak of the market.
yeah.
It's kind of bottoming out now.
Who knows?
All right. Joe, you were asking a question at the beginning of the meeting. I stopped you before we started. Do you recall what you were asking?
Has the selectmen put out that we need 2 more people on our committee?
No, so what I did is in our town report, when I wrote all of our names, I made sure to write vacant housing, vacant conservation.
Yeah.
I was essentially, I don't know if you guys know this, I brought it up a couple of months ago, but they're doing the facade, there's like a Union Street or Uptown Facade Program committee that they're putting together, and they asked for a CPA representative. I asked that, no one was really interested. And so Jen voluntold me and invited me to the meeting. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, well, if we have to, me as the chair has to attend that because we need a representative from my committee. If they're not nominating a representative from their committee, then shouldn't the chair fill those roles? And so I do want to have a conversation with the selectmen about that.
Seems rather reciprocal and
Mhm.
So
So,
if we're open to other conversation now, Steve, am I correct?
yeah, we're on other business not reasonably anticipated.
Okay, so quick questions, and this is something that I've had a couple discussions with a few people. Was the Hartsef property.
Mhm.
A couple of proposals that have been coming up and people talking about developing the Hartsef property and some kind of a recreation center and gymnasium type complex or whatnot.
Yep.
So that breaches every bit of CPA. You cannot use any CPA funds in the construction, maintenance, or other beings of any sort of gymnasium or sports complex that they're talking. And I think that it's probably borderline, depending on where it is, whether or not the conservation restriction would bar it from happening as well.
No, where it's going to be located is not on the parcel that we purchased, or that's restricted.
Not on our parcel, but the original parcel was given to the Parks Departments. And there should have been some sort of a restriction put on that parcel once it was handed over to the Park Department, which is the actual, jurisdiction. It's the parks, not the schools, not
Mhm.
anybody other than the Parks Departments. And to do that, for the town to basically hand it over, there has to be some kind of a document. I mean, it's not a secret that I am 150% against building any kind of a gymnasium or other such facility there. It's one of the few truly open space parcels that are, used for passive outdoor recreation. I think there are many other options, including abandoned schools and soon to be defunct schools, where something like that could be done without encroaching on an open space property. I know there's probably some legal things that we'd need to talk to as well, where we funded the use study for the entire property and not just the part that we bought.
Mhm.
And what that would entail, whether or not some of these things that I have heard, and not all of it's obviously factual. I've heard it through this person, that person, different outlets. of what was being discussed or asked for and so forth. I do intend on going to the next information session. I'm just waiting to be updated on when it is. But I think there will be some ramifications as far as CPA is concerned with that property. And with, like I said, what was it, around $60,000 that we dumped into it for a use study
Yep.
and surveying and so forth, not just the property that we purchased, but also the existing property that was there.
Mhm.
So there's a few things I just wanted to bring that up and see if anybody else has any feelings towards that as far as CPA would be concerned.
So one, we definitely can't fund any work related to the structure anywhere in that park, whether it's the restricted portion or not. I agree with you, Derek, there. I'm indifferent on what they do there. More so because it's going to impact one of the disc golf holes, and that pisses me off a little bit, but not enough to feel one way or the other on what Gene's trying to do there. But it's interesting, you bring up the use study, and does that restrict them from moving forward on another parcel of land that we funded? I would think not, but it's an interesting thought. What other folks think?
I haven't heard exactly where they're thinking of putting this building. They were talking at one time near the basketball court
Mhm.
on the practice field / softball field. And we get restrictions, I believe, 1,000 feet from any buildings being built near that parcel of land that we bought off of Mr. Robbins. So I believe they're trying to push it down further where the science building is in a little bit of that pine grove. I had said, I really don't want too much of that taking out of that area there where the pine trees are on the right side of the infield of the softball field.
Mhm.
I've given my thoughts on this proposal. The building that used to be the Robbins warehouse, I asked them to look into purchasing that and upgrading that into this new facility. And what I understand, the gentleman wants $1 million for it. I still feel that is doable using that building, but that's me. Other proposals was buying a house off of Hingham Street there to put it on that parcel of land. Everyone's all over the map on this, I feel. And I understand what Derek's saying, because when we started this was CPA. He's one of the original members,
Mhm.
the head honcho of
Created
the
it.
five of us that got this rolling. And it's a need for the town, but is it the right place? Possible, but using it on open space land, losing the open space land, I have concerns. Like you guys know, I let things go to the townspeople for their opinion and their vote. I did that with the school project. I could have killed the middle school just on my own with a vote, but I let it go forward to the town people to decide. In hindsight, I wish I killed it, but that's in hindsight. But with this project here, I don't know, it's a tough one. And I understand what
Now,
Derek,
my question would be, is you have essentially in the town of Rockland right now, 3 properties, 2 that are set to be completely vacant and 1 that is going to be a partial use for another program. meaning Jefferson and the Lincoln School property. Lincoln School for the fire station, whatever may happen or may not happen, dead on arrival, whatever it may be. Jefferson, which I have to think would be a hell of a lot easier to remodel and cheaper to completely gut the place, remodel it. They already have a gymnasium and still utilize the fields, the basketball court, the playground area to build a new field. Or Eston, which I understand is going to be the early child care, daycare, preschool type thing. But I can't see the entire building, gymnasium and everything else being used solely for daycare, preschool type setup.
I've given them another building to look into that's up for sale. And that's on the corner of Summer Street and Concord. I don't know exactly what the price tag is, but
In
I think
space to build something new when there's other options.
oh, they've been looking for buildings, Derek. They were close to buying Kathy Corrigan's at one time. I forget exactly what happened, but they were hot and heavy for Kathy Corrigan's, and that got sold. You know, they didn't have enough time to act on it. What I understand. I
Point
hear
of order
you.
here, guys. Point of order. I think we're kind of drifting away from CPA business with discussing this. We can't fund structures. But I respect all of your thoughts on that project and, you know, what they're trying to do, but I don't know that this is the forum. I agree that, you know, if it's gonna be hardship and we need to look at CPA restrictions because of the work that we've done there, that we do our due diligence on that piece. I think that's wise. But speculating on other properties and what we can do and can't do really falls out of the realm of our scope.
Can anybody hear me? Because right now my screen is frozen.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, so I missed everything from
Point of
the
order.
funding. No, I got after that, but like I said, and you probably just said this even, so my concern is that we've already invested CPA money into those properties and what could come back to CPA if something happens to be put there that is not defined in CPA law.
That's fair. I think with looking at the hearts of property, or set of properties, and are we beholden, or is the town beholden to any CPA laws regarding where structures can be built? I think that's fair for us to do our due diligence on.
Yeah.
So
That
I
was
agree with you there,
personally,
Derek.
just for the simple fact that this is, I mean, as well as I do after being through this and different projects and so forth. It's pretty cut and dry what they allow. No upkeep, no maintenance of non-funded projects from CPA, things, that we just can't do.
Right.
And I would hate to see this come back. It only takes one person to stand up and question a project that's happening and try and follow the trail. Well, how did we decide that this was the best spot for it? Oh, we did a use study. Oh, we did. Who funded the use study? Oh, CPA. So just
But
I
the worst
think
case scenario there is that the town would then need to refund into our account the cost of the use study.
Yeah,
right.
And that would be something to do that. It would have to go, in front of a couple of the boards, finance committee, such like that. Probably capital planning. It's over $50,000.
Yeah.
Certain things that would have to happen as well, but it's for further discussion at a different time, different place, I guess. I think that on our best interest, we should probably, maybe perhaps reach out to Doug or to council and you know, do a little bit of research to find out what we're tied to.
I think we're pretty tied to it because we funded it.
Very,
Well,
not only did we fund
it's
it, but we
great.
also purchased a lot of land out there under the premise of the entire property basically remaining open space for passive recreation. You know, I think that to turn around a year and a half, 2 years after that and suggest to the people that voted on that bill that now we're going to build a gymnasium right behind neighborhoods and in the only open space parkland that is what it is, you know, as far as disc golf, hiking, you know, trail walking, stuff like that, I think is it casts it in a bit of a shadow. You know, it doesn't seem completely above board.
You mean sleazy?
This is, yes, I guess the lack of a better term, it doesn't come off as
I agree.
being honest, because we passed this thing to purchase that parcel of land from Robbins as being, hey, nothing will ever be built there. We're buying this land to help expand the park, to, you know, promote passive recreation, open spaces, this, that, and the other thing. Bam, here's your gym. You know, I think that it looks poorly upon us and
It
the people
definitely
that voted for it at town meeting.
it reflects on us. It's like bait and switch.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Tom.
I hadn't considered the issue with using, you know, understandable, we can't use CP funds to build the building, maintain a building, all that. But I hadn't considered the impact or the implications of the use study precluding the entire property, even though the entire property had been purchased with those funds, because we own most of it already. From being used. I think Parks probably has more of a say in what happens with that land because it's Parks property. But I see what you're getting at with the use study. I mean, to me, it's a bit of a gray area. Earlier this week, I stumbled upon, I was looking for something. I don't even remember what I was looking. Oh, how to come up with the estimations for our article. And so I ended up reading a lot of the bill that was passed to create CPA. And I didn't read it all, it's long, but I read a lot of it. And that wasn't apparent in the sections I read. But I will, you know what, I will reach out to Doug to get his thoughts and to see if we should engage counsel to determine whether or not we could run afoul of that and just say, hey, you know, and let them know that if we do, and we were, you know, the town was sued because of it and won, the town would need to return the use study funds back to CPA. But I think the parcel of land that we purchased that abuts Hartsuff that has a conservation restriction.
Yep.
Is really separate to that issue. Because they're not using that. They know they can't use that land to build anything, and there's no plan to build anything on that land.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, obviously with the conservation restriction, there wouldn't be. I feel that like Tom had said, I kind of feel that, I mean, we used Hartsuff Park as a selling point to purchase more land. And now we're taking, you know, presumably a good chunk of it, because now you've got to do something with the parking situation. You've got to do something with emergency exits and entrances and so forth to that property, and develop it a lot more than I think anybody had thought or really intended when they voted one specific way. And I feel like, you know, and not for nothing, I mean, one of the people that approached me about this project basically approached screaming and yelling that we ruined their neighborhood. Because they voted yes to purchase the extra property, and they voted yes for this, and they're all about it. And come to find out, you know, was this your intention the whole time? And I was read the riot act. You know,
that sucks.
And it's one of those things that now I sit back and look at it from somebody's point of view. who might have voted in favor of us purchasing this land and, you know, and was given a bill of sale for something that is kind of morphing into, you know, what turns into, you know, having a YMCA in their backyard or in their neighborhood or in the park that they frequent. You know, I think that that is a discussion that, you know, the members of CPA, you know, have a little input as to, you know, what do you say to somebody that says that to you?
I agree
You know,
with you.
sorry, it wasn't my intention. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't our intention. It wasn't, we didn't plan this out, but it looks shady. Like, as Tom said, it kind of a bait and switch type of a thing where, you know, every,
Oh, no,
I feel terrible at this
hold
point.
on. We gotta wait for Derek to get back. We lost quorum.
He was rolling.
I know. You back? We dropped you for a second, Derek. We dropped you.
Yeah, not a problem. I was pretty much rounding up, finished.
Okay.
But that's, you know, my 2 cents thrown in as a, you know, as somebody who pushed that, you know, that purchase, pushed that agenda of,
Mhm.
you know, protecting our open space and this and that under the name of CPA. And I think that this does have an impact on beyond just the land usage, but also on the integrity of the committee and, quite frankly, the reputation of its members. You know, I think where I was like personally, you know, just lambasted about this, you know,
Mhm.
And it's
and
indefensible.
it got to me. I made a couple quick phone. It is. It
Damn it.
Take yourself off video.
Oh, we dropped him. Let's wait. That's weird. It's like Zoom's kicking him out.
and again we dropped. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
Derek, turn your video off. That helped Joe.
You understand where I'm coming from.
Quite
Yeah, I do.
honestly,
Go
I
ahead,
think
Charlie.
there's something going on with the internet. Cause, I have lots of internet issues going on right now. I'm not
Okay.
sure if it's a townwide thing or what, but I think something's going on with the internet for sure.
I'm only 3 houses away from Derek.
Derek, are you-
Tom has
are you
better
on-
internet.
Well, I'm also using my phone through my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Did we just lose Charlie?
no,
No,
I'm here. I'm here.
Derek, you,
right.
Joe,
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yep.
You're 100% correct on what the person said to you. I have concerns now on how we handle this. I don't know where we go from here. It's kind of like Monday morning quarterback when this has been out there for quite a while. I'm not saying you, but it's concerning, definitely.
I think we do know where we're gonna go from here, though. I mean, like Steve said, we're gonna reach out to council, and make sure that, you know, there was nothing malicious, I don't think, on our part at all. But I think we do have a direction where we're gonna go. We're gonna have to, you know, reach out to council and see what they say on it, but, I agree with Derek that it's concerning, but I don't think that there was anything malicious on our end of it.
yeah. Just for folks that may end up watching this YouTube video later, I kind of want to lay out the order of events. Maybe that'll help. So we purchased the Robbins land, which is abutting Hearts of Park, which the Robbins family had allowed for essentially passive use for the town for years and years. We purchased that. Oh, we have a conservation restriction on it through Wildlands Trust. No structures can be built on that parcel that we purchased. Separate to that, but around the same time, there was a use plan put forward by Rockland Recreation to study all of the land that the town owns in that area for potential uses and improvements. They came to us to fund that. We approved it. The town approved that. The idea for the structure or rec center on that property was something that came out of those meetings with the contractor that was hired to produce the use plan. upon recommendation from, it was led by Rockland Recreation. I participated in some of those. There was a town-wide survey that went out. There were multiple responses that came in. Some of the things on there were, fixing the pump for the pond, improved paths, improved signage. They looked at the potential of a dog park, the potential of a pump track, so like BMX biking. They looked at, kind of redoing some of the disc golf holes, that kind of thing. And then it was put forward, it was stamped, it was published with all of the items with associated costs for things that came out of that use plan. That's where things stand now. It seems right now that there's a big push of standing up a new rec center, potentially on that site, as the first priority coming out of that use study. And that's where we are today. So the building itself wasn't something that was ever mentioned as a part of approving the use study, of purchasing the Robbins land, or any of the use of Hartsup. It was something that came out of the use study that we funded as an idea document.
All right, if I can just add, and
Sure.
anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that use study was well within the privy of CPA to fund that study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make that clear because I think that there may be some confusion on that. We were well within our right, following the guidelines set forth by the Commonwealth for CPA to do that use study.
Yes.
And I gave Mr. Robbins kind of a big promise that that land would never be developed, but I still have a vote as a park commissioner, what goes on that parcel of land.
Joe, can I ask you a question? Did Parks ever ratify the use plan as like an official declaration of town goals?
I do not recall. I'm thinking kind of hard on this, but I don't recall.
So I think that's
I
important too, because if it's not the town's mission, like open space came up with a use plan or their open space plan, it was ratified by open space as their 10-year goals, right? If
I
you
know
guys haven't ratified it, then it really just a document.
I would have to go back into some minutes to confirm that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I know Gene came to all our meetings with this use plan.
Mhm.
One of the things that you didn't mention was a music pavilion.
Oh, music pavilion. Yeah, I was going off memory. That was another item that was mentioned.
So I'm trying to think of everything as we're going here.
Bathhouse.
I do not recall that happening, but it could have. And I don't even know how I voted on it, if I did.
I think that part's important, but so let's start. I don't know that we want to dig too much into this in our other business that reasonably anticipated. And I appreciate all your comments on it. And
No, but
it
it's
is something that's happening right now, right? It's being talked about right now. But it is important.
well, like Derek said, if we're in the wrong, we're in the wrong.
Mhm.
And this is the time to fix it if we're in the wrong. And
Sure.
he's made valid, good points.
I agree.
I'm trying to remember my conversation with the Robbins family. And I know they were very upset about a fire station being built on that area. And that was part of the selling point of getting this land, like Derek said, that it was going to stay open space. So I'm doing a lot of reflection on how things went and where we're going.
Okay. Let's start with concrete next steps. I can, unless Derek, you want to do it, I'm happy to reach out to Doug to express, that this came up. There's some concern with us funding a use plan that could potentially lead to a building on Hearts of, not, non-wildland trust property, but the original Hearts of parcel? And is it worth bringing in land use council to prevent a potential lawsuit down the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think as chair, it'd probably be best coming from you rather than a
Yeah.
standing member.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that that's definitely definitely warranted. I would personally be more concerned anyways about whether or not, because the way it was explained to me, or the way that a couple people had mentioned it, was understood you can't use CPA funds to build a gymnasium. And some of the funds that we do use to help maintain or improve the parcel we bought could possibly be diverted towards an impact from a structure on the abutting lots.
I'm not following.
We lost him again.
Yeah, I think we lost him again.
Once I shut off my video, mine's been fine.
Oh, I know.
You know, and that's my biggest concern.
We lost you there for a while, Derek.
Oh, okay. Just basically the situation that none of this, whether it's upkeep, maintenance, any fees, any money from CPA goes anywhere near funding something like this, or can be misconstrued that it was used. You know, the court of public opinion with CPA is huge. People either love it or hate it. There's this kind of you know, the middle of there, the little gray area in between. Those that love it and hate it's very small. And I think that, judging from the blowback that I received just by being on the CPA committee, in the court of public opinion, we're not really being looked at pretty fair.
Let's see if he gets back.
Just gotta try shutting off this video.
I know. Derek, try turning off your video because you cut out again.
Yep, let me see.
Just turn your camera off.
And we're going to shut it off. Yep. I gotta wait till the damn screen comes back up. There we go. Stop video. All right. Is that better?
I think so. Your video's
All
been choppy pretty much the whole meeting, so it's really the
Yeah.
audio that we really want. We want to hear your voice.
Yep. So, like I said, I think that I don't like hearing CPA being thrown around
Sure.
in such a bad light. You know, I think that one of our major concerns would be that in the court of public opinion, we don't come off as being a shady organization. And I think that some of
Absolutely.
these things can be misconstrued or whatnot, you know, and it can be damaging to the reputation. At CPA, everything is about the reputation of this organization. You're talking about a lot of money, people's taxes are involved, you know, the surcharges and whatnot. We're nothing if we're not transparent.
Mhm.
You know, and like I said, kind of being accosted about something that may or may not have been accurate, you know, was kind of like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's why I kind of want to pause on the conversation, in the interest of transparency. This is not an agenda item. I agree it's an important conversation to have, but it's not an agenda item. I think we do need to, if we want to dig deeper, and I will take the time in between now and the next meeting to talk to Doug and get some input on that. But I think we post it as an agenda item, which would allow others to come. So citizens that feel that way about parts of could come and speak their mind on it. And I would be glad as chair to allow them to that time to speak. Not that we should respond to that at that time, but to take that in and listen, and then come back at a future meeting to respond to those concerns. Same thing with, yes, I paid attention in our ethics meetings. Same thing with a representative from Rockland Recreation or anything like that to come in and make their case. But they did make a case. They have a YouTube video on it of why they want to do this. I have yet to watch it. Maybe I'll take the time to do that before the next meeting. Suggest we all do if we're gonna dig into this.
Yes, please share the link.
Yeah, I can dig that out. It's on WRPS. I'll find it and share it with you guys.
This is the first I'm hearing that this YouTube video's out there.
Well, there was a public forum on it.
Yeah,
I think January 31st. I couldn't make it. It was pretty widely advertised.
Hmm.
But like anything else, public posting areas, do you see it? Do you happen to catch it on Facebook if someone happens to share it because they saw it? Do you, check the town website
somebody
2 days
somebody
before
who
things
doesn't
need to
have-
be posted?
Somebody that doesn't have Facebook, like
Yeah.
being me,
Yeah.
I found out about it a couple days after the meeting happened when I was, unceremoniously accosted.
Yeah, no, that's tough. And I don't envy the position you were put in.
yes.
Especially with not having a lot of information.
I agree with Derek.
Neither
that We
here
have
nor
to,
there.
excuse me.
So session. All right. Any other unanticipated business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a
No.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right, roll call. We'll start with Tom here at the top of my list.
Aye.
Charlie,
Aye.
Derek,
Yes.
Joe,
yes.
and myself. That's unanimous. Everyone have a wonderful evening.